connected to that.
I think we're good. Okay, we're going to call to order the specially called regular council meeting, specially called regular full council meeting of Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. Please call the roll.
Bergery.
Here.
Mensch.
Here.
Cahill.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Villar.
Here.
Marcier.
Here.
Rolfs. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, basically this is to discuss the Gallagher bid. We had one bid for doing the heat and recycle, correct? Yep, we're going to have Lauren get up and explain it.
Yeah, so this process here is, instead of your typical mill and overlay, is a heat and recycle. So what they're doing is turning up the existing asphalt, heating it to a certain point to turn it back over, roll it out, and then after they're done, it's a tar and chip with a fog coat over the top of that. So that fog coat ends up turning the chip and seal into a black material, helps seal it and bind it down, so it won't be like your typical country roads that are just chip and seal. This project covers Sheridan from 2nd Street to 6th, and then from 6th on Raymond Road out to city limits, Chicago and Market, the entire length on the west side, and then Virginia and Wabash as well. So we're getting quite a few roads taken care of. We discussed this, I think, late last year to try this process. We can cover a lot more ground with fewer tax dollars here. I think we need to try this to see how the public reacts to it. I know we're going to have a little bit of cleanup, mainly Sheridan, because that's the only street that has a curb. So we'll just have to run the street sweeper once some of that chip gets pushed off to the side, make sure we aren't plugging up any storm sewers. But I think this is a great process to try out, saving tax dollars, hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million+ here to cover this amount of road. I had toured some roads late last year with Keith, with Robinson. Some of the roads were 6, 7, 8 years old and still in really good shape. I think this is a great alternative to a mill and overlay.
You also looked at some recently done also,
Yeah,
correct?
some that were recently done. So some of the concerns was the heat process that spreads out and kills a lot of your grass, trees, things like that. They now have shields on the side of their machines that limit how much grass and stuff you kill off. We had toured some that were done a couple months prior, and everything along the roadway was back to green already.
The grass came back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got a bid from Gallagher for $535,337.65. Engineering estimates were $614,355. So this came in quite a bit lower than our engineers' estimates. But after looking at the bids and going over the road work, I believe we can pull out some of this cost and bring in-house to save some money. I think tonight what we need to do is approve the project in a whole at the $535, and then we'll do some change orders with Gallagher in the next couple of weeks. A lot of the concrete sidewalk removals, some of the ADA walkways and some of the other sidewalk work can be done in-house. The aggregate shoulder work can be done in-house. What that would be is if there's any buildup of road, so you have a drop off at the edge, just bringing in rock, building the shoulder back up. That's something Public Works can do. And then there's a line item for some curb and gutter work. Looking at Sheridan, I saw no issues. Keith and I are going to walk that again next week. I don't see any curb and gutter that needs to be replaced over there. So with removing the sidewalk work and the aggregate along the road, and then that curb and gutter, we're looking at removing about $102,000 off of this project.
Wow. Nice.
So I'm expecting this project to be closer to 432,000 with Public Works stepping in, doing their part.
And just comparing to what we usually do, I mean, this was roughly, what, maybe a third?
Yeah, this was about a third of the cost, if not closer to a quarter of what we were looking at if we did a typical mill and overlay.
And we got to remember, our motor fuel tax brings in annually probably about maybe 240 to 250,000. And when we did the, I'm going to call it the FAU. Am I calling it the right? When we did that project, we added on 2 blocks of mulberry that was real rough. That was not included initially. And that was about 380,000 with the regular process. So this is something that we have to take a look at and hope it works. And
You know, and this, again, is not a one-size-fits-all, but this is a great option for the city to look at on streets that, you know, don't have curb and gutter, that don't have crowning issues, things like that, that own a good base underneath of
but it'll work on curb and gutter.
It
also.
will. It's just, you know, some situations that we're reshaping the roads, it's not gonna work on.
Yeah, it'll be probably more side streets rather than like main thoroughfares, like 4th Street going to the hospital, 5th Street, Elm Street, North Street, some of those major
And then with,
traveled roads.
and then with our new spray patch machine we purchased, we should be able to save some of the Class D patching as well. I didn't count any of that. We have about 81,000 in this project for that. If we can get out ahead of them and fill in the divots and things like that, that heat and recycle process uses the same material we use. So we could save some money there with the Class D patching as well.
But again, some roads are going to have some rebuilding, like in your ward, Jenny and Benny. You know, 3rd Street, that's going to be a major project. This will not be applicable to that. at all.
If it needs a base replaced, repaired, reshaping of the road, this process doesn't work, but, you know, this just gives us an option though to work on some of the roads that don't need major overhauls. We can save tax dollars and put that toward the major overhauls that we need to do throughout town.
So we're looking to get a motion and a second, unless there's any other discussion or questions of Lauren.
I'll make that motion.
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead. It's time for discussion.
Sorry.
we
Didn't
was,
hear you,
talk-
Don.
we was talking about a minimum for Gallagher. Does you taking stuff out, does that go below it and that affect
No,
us?
so the work that I'm removing, Gallagher doesn't do. They would sub that out anyways.
Okay.
So likely they won't care, and their subs are probably tied up anyway, so I don't think this will cause any problems. And each one of those line items is under the 10%, so we're able to do a change order on that. Unlike the K Street project that we've seen recently, where we couldn't remove that bypass pumping because it was over 10%.
And there's some other city mayors that might be interested in observing the process, which is the Gallagher minimum, which I think it initially started out at 40,000.
Yeah,
came
which
down to
they've been
30.
working with us to get that down to the 30, and they understand that we have to try it. We have to see how everybody reacts to it. We see if we like it. This, we could do a lot of road work every other year for, you know, small dollars.
So we have had a motion, right?
Yeah.
A little
And a
premature,
second?
but sorry.
Second.
Okay. When you're ready.
Beargree?
Aye.
Mensch?
Aye.
Cahill? No. Miller?
Aye.
Delar?
Aye.
Marcier?
Aye.
Rolfs?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
Roll call carried.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren.
All right, thanks. guys.
Okay, with that, need to call for adjournment. Need a motion and a second?
Move.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, it is 6:38. Call to order the public safety meeting for May 14th, 2024. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Anderson?
Here.
Beargree?
Here.
Rolfs?
Here.
Marcier?
Here.
Delar?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
Cahill?
Here.
Mensch?
Here.
Mayor?
Here.
9 present.
Any public comment? Not hearing any. We will go to the Sheldon Mayor.
We can have you step up and state your name for the record, please.
My name's Bill Mylan. I'm the mayor of Sheldon.
And we'd like to enter an agreement with Watsika for 20 hours of police work, primarily on weekends, and then 5 hours of code enforcement.
I guess discussion, if anybody has.
My question is, why don't you approach the county for this coverage or for your needs?
Yeah, they seem to be asking too much. They want about $85,000 a year. They want us to turn the car over. And I'd simply like more control of the situation than relying on the county. We've had instances where we've called and they've not gotten over there. So we'd rather have control of our own police force.
And we've done some backup work for them, right, when they've called and,
How will that impact, I mean, as a whole,
Yeah.
how do you feel about it, Chief?
I got a lot of questions about it, I'll be honest. I'm sorry, but, you know,
Chief, can you put your mic down?
sorry. I have a lot of questions. First of all, I have no idea how much, how long is this gonna be a short-term asking, a 1-year contract, 2-year contract? Right now with the staffing that we got, we have times that we're having hard times. We got mandates still somewhat not on a regular basis like we used to, but we still have mandates and so forth like that. I don't know how aggressive you guys have been with trying to, I know you guys have tried to go out and hire some people part-time. I don't know what your wages are, and I'm not asking you what your wages are. So, I think that there's other possible variations of different things that you could look at. I know that there's guys out there, police officers out there looking for part-time work. I don't know. I have some reservations with it, to be honest, so.
Chief, let me ask you, do you have any issue if some of our folks take on the part-time?
No, I mean, all of our guys are allowed in their contract, they can work part-time.
Yep.
So if any of the guys want to work part-time somewhere, they're welcome to, so.
I think personally we have enough going on here with
Yeah, exactly.
the police that we have,
Right.
and not depart from any of that. I'd rather see them hire a part-time from anywhere.
Right.
And I think we need to leave our staffing the way it is.
Unfortunately, if we could come to some kind of agreement, it also doesn't take in consideration, in all due respect, Mayor, we could try to go by your guys' request, but obviously our requirements and our staffing here in Watsika would take priority over anything else. And I'm not going to end up, if we would end up getting some kind of agreement, having to have guys scheduled to go over there and work in Sheldon and end up having to mandate guys over here to have to work over here because of a secondary part-time job. And their primary job, they got hired with the city of Watsika. We provide the training, we provide the equipment, we provide all the updates, the mandates and so forth like that. And it's one of those things that I personally am proud of. And the guys in the city council should just take a lot of respect in the guys that we got. And I'm not really open to sharing, so say. So, but if they want to work part-time,
Okay.
I have nothing wrong with that. I can, we can discuss this afterwards or something, maybe next week or something. I can share with you what we pay our officers part-time to work here. We do have a couple, not a lot. We struggle with getting part-time officers too. Okay. And, I just spoke to police chief over in Fowler, Indiana today. He's hiring somebody from Watsika to work over here. They had to come all the way over to Illinois to get somebody to work over in Indiana over in Fowler because they just can't get the applicants either. Police work is not like it used to be. We used to have people lining up at the door picking up applications and resumes. We've got 3 people on our list right now. Every application process we've gone through, years ago we were getting 20 and 30 applicants. We're lucky to get 7 at this point. So it's unfortunately, I'm not gonna say a dying breed, but it's not there sometimes, and it's hard to get people. Unfortunately, sometimes money talks. So I would, as Alderman Marcier said, I would consider maybe advertising, trying to bump up whatever your part-time pay is, and I think you could probably pull some people. So that's my guess. So,
Plus, I think another issue would be their policies and procedures that you may have one in your town may be different than Watsika's.
Right.
And it would be hard for the police officer to
So our officers work under a FOP contract and they're unionized and so forth like that. So there's certain things hypothetically compared to working for smaller communities where they have to report directly back to one person or two people. Basically, these guys report back to me, then I report to them. So there's kind of separation between the two of them. So that's a little bit of I don't know how open that they would be or we would be with you guys having a lot of control. Everything would have to go through me. And then I would have to set some boundaries, unfortunately, like we do over here, that we can't do everything everybody wants. There's a reason why we do things. And you know, again, a lot of the training and the safeguards we put in place, you know, we spend a lot of money to get our guys at the top of their game. So, and I don't think that has really a price tag to it. So,
Well, then maybe you and I can speak later.
Yeah.
About that.
yeah, I'd be open for that. So,
Well, I'm wondering then about code enforcement, if I could get 5 hours of that. if that-
Eric and Billy? Thoughts, questions, concerns? Need to think about it? I
You need some
I mean,
time.
it's up to you guys. I mean,
well,
Well, again, I feel code is like,
I work for y'all, so.
again, I feel code is like police, that if they want to hire them part-time when they're not working for Watsika, that's fine. But I think that we have 2 full-time people here for a reason.
I mean, I guess, Mayor, where I would consider also is if you had like a specialized thing that you had, you know, as far as a building code or something that you're kind of in question with your folks, I wouldn't have an issue if you called over and asked Eric advice or whatever, and if there's some scheduled time or downtime, I wouldn't have an issue. I don't know if we can make it regular, I think is what the council's kind of saying. Would that be,
They might have,
don't agree with me if you think I'm wrong.
he
by
might
all
have an
means.
easier time of hiring a
So-
part-time code person over there, and they could they could help train that person for over there.
Yeah, because Mantino did that for us when Eric first started. We had you go up there for a bit. So, I mean, we're definitely open to help if you get somebody hired.
Okay.
And like I said, and in the meantime, if there was one specialized thing, I wouldn't have an issue if you called over
Okay.
and talk with them, and then we can decide where to go from there.
I mean, honestly, Mayor, when I kind of did some numbers here, based off $85,000 at 20 hours a week, based off 52 weeks, you're looking in roughly, they were going to charge you roughly $81.75 an hour for their deputies to come over there and work an hour for those 20 hours. I'm sure you can
Yeah.
entice some people for quite a bit less than that to get some people to go
Yeah,
over there
that's
and
an
work.
issue. Yeah.
So $81 an hour is quite a lot. So
And that might be something where you talk with Chief on the side, and maybe he
Okay.
can give you some
So,
insight and maybe some
yeah.
people that he knows.
And I might even have a person or two for code enforcement that is
Great.
soon to be retiring. Not myself, soon to be retiring. That would be possibly interested in doing it too.
Okay.
So,
well, one of our
Like to
older code enforcers lives in Shelton, doesn't they?
no, he lives out in the country not too far from there.
But I don't know if he would want to do part-time or not, but
I've been told that he's not talked to me, but talked to other people that he's interested in maybe doing some side work somewhere.
that might be
So-
an option for him, maybe close
Okay.
to him and that.
Chief can let you know about him.
Okay, great.
So,
Probably worth a call and the ask.
Okay.
Yeah. so
When's a good time for you, Chief?
call me anytime tomorrow. I'll be in the
Okay,
office. So,
okay, I'll do that.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Finally,
Thank you.
nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the auxiliary report.
Good evening, all.
Evening.
The May agenda here, we've got, we had our meeting was held on the 7th as usual. Everybody attended. We did a mock traffic stop with Officer Spears. He went through, it was a refresher for some of the people been there a while, and it's obviously new for those who are newcomers to the auxiliary. What to do, why to do, process procedures, how to protect yourselves, how to protect the officer that you're with, without getting into further detail on that. But a lot of the do's and don'ts when you're in and around the squad cars and dealing with the public and traffic stops, what have you. We did go over some of the upcoming events. The next one I know is going to be the 4th of July that we know is scheduled for sure. I went to the board meeting for the Family Fun Fest. Those that
Close
group.
enough.
Yeah, that
Yep,
group.
there's a
On
lot.
what their potential needs are, we're gonna get back with, what they're gonna finalize with on that. When we had the road closed for the railroad, that became, I guess, some issues with a lot of traffic bypassing the barricades, mainly semis, pretending like they really didn't know what was going on. So the auxiliary did get involved in that. We had several officers on throughout the day and into the evenings to assist with that, to keep everybody off of the side streets so we don't do any damage or what have you with the semis. But all in all, it was a good success. No real issues. Other than that, everything was pretty quiet, thankfully. Any questions from anybody?
One time a neighbor to your headquarters over there on Cherry,
Sorry?
the neighbor that owns the building next door at Cherry,
Okay.
he was interested in trying to do some work to nicen up what would also appear on your side. I don't know if Chris got in touch with you at all. He may not know the changeover between Mark, the transition
Okay.
between
No,
Mark
I've
and
been
your
up
side.
in,
So I may give him, I guess I don't have your number, but we'll get
Yeah.
it through either Quincy or somebody, and he may be calling just if he can get in and do some work.
certainly,
So,
always open.
okay.
Appreciate it. All right. With that, that's what I have for this month.
Or if you
Alright,
see
thank you,
Chris,
Eric.
stop over and maybe talk with
Yeah.
him then.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, fire department report, Chief Byer.
Good evening, council. Calls for April. We had two fires, actually, are brush fires. First responder calls, we had 10, 30 ambulance calls. We had 4 motor vehicle accidents, 8 automatic alarms, 2 auto aid calls. And the combination of calls, we had 7, so a total of 62 last month. So that actually is the highest we've ever had in our history. Training for April, we did boat training beginning of the month. We actually went out on the river, ran everybody through. Definitely found some weaknesses. We didn't realize how many new people we had, so it was good training. So that's for the rest of the summer. Every month you're going to see us on the river a little bit more. Vehicle extrication, we got our hands on the vehicles, finished them up. So Billy's been great to give us vehicles to use. That's hard to come by, so it works out well. And then we did rapid intervention, hands-on, and we did pumping with hose line advancement at the training cans under heat and smoke. I don't have anything to report for personnel. Equipment, the only thing that we did is we went ahead and installed a speaker system within Station 1, and that'll help with our paging and radio traffic throughout. We used to have just an old horn that we had in there, and if you were standing right next to it, you could hear it, but if you were anywhere else in the building, you just heard noise. So we checked with the company. It was going to cost us about $4,500 to have this system put in. Well, once you took a better look at it and seen really what it was, we were able to do it ourselves for $1,500. So there was a little bit of savings there. Worked out well. The duty crew, they learned how to wire and put speakers up. So miscellaneous, we had Camp 911 at Glen Raymond. Good turnout there. We also hosted the MABUS 7 meeting, which every fire department usually takes a turn hosting for the county for all the fire departments to show up. It usually includes quite a different amount of resources, not just the fire departments. It usually has the EMS side of it. EMA is there, dispatching is there. If there's any outside speakers like ServPro, stuff like that, if there's any representative from like NICOR, those people show up. So we hosted it last month. It was a good meeting, had a good turnout. We did a parade for Little League. Also, we did 7 home inspections and installed 8 smoke detector installs for the month. Other than that, everything's been good. Is there any questions?
Yeah, radio this morning, you folks reported to that tragic accident that happened, loss of 1 life and stuff.
Yes.
And that was with 2 of our units? You were
2 of our
telling me
units,
last
yeah.
night?
So that technically is Crescent City's district. The initial report reported more than 1 victim possibly with entrapment. And one of their personnel that was responding to the call immediately had us page for EMS. And then once he heard that there was someone that's going to need extrication, they paged us out. So what Sika was able to respond, we actually transported the patient. I had direct contact with the helicopter and I diverted them to IMH. So our guys extricated the patient and transported the patient to the hospital, which is where they met Carl, and then they flew the person out. So it actually worked out very well.
So both our new units, huh?
Yep.
All right,
I
good
happened
work.
to be half a mile away, and I was quite impressed with the whole operation.
Yeah, okay, I thought that was you. I wasn't
The
sure.
radio traffic, and I saw what was going on.
Okay.
I stayed out of the way.
Yeah.
But I was quite impressed with, I felt comfortable that that new rig we had was there to have
Yep.
the right equipment on hand.
It did. We have the ability to realistically, we can face about anything that comes our way, anything.
Yeah.
So, other towns have recognized kind of what we have, and I know it's tough because that's a Watseka. You know, we are the city of Watseka, but it's a catch-22. You know, a lot of people outside of town, they do come into town, they shop, they do spend their money here. So it's kind of a give and take. And we have used the other towns around us for downtown fires, or it's definitely our flooding. So it's a very good give and take. And I would hate for there to ever be a question whether or not a piece of equipment can go out to possibly save someone's life like it did yesterday, because it's not specifically theirs. So that's part of that mutual aid that we've been dealing with for 20 plus years now, and it worked yesterday.
Well, I think we're showing that more and more with you folks, you know, and I know Mavis, you kind of
Yep.
are in agreement, but going out and helping there. Our PD backing up Sheldon PD. Lauren helping, you know, with some of these other towns on their stuff. So I think Watseka overall is showing that we can be good neighbors.
Yep.
And I think that builds a heck of a lot with surrounding communities and stuff. So good job to you guys, Lauren,
Thanks.
and everybody. And if we get code involved a little bit with helping them out, you know, just being good neighbors, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's excellent.
Thank you.
Chief, did somebody question this?
No, I just know in the past, you know, you'll hear a little bit of grumbling here and there. Well, that's not, you know, so-and-so. So I'm just being boisterous, letting people know, hey, that's what mutual aid is for. That's why we do what we do. And we were the only ones that showed up. Now, Crescent's ambulance initially showed up, but they were taxed. So without those additional resources, that person would not have got out of the vehicle. We were the only fire equipment that showed up, and we were able to put 2 paramedics in the back of that ambulance with that person on the way to the hospital.
And that was during the hours that we have.
Yep. And the only reason why the staffing worked out so well is because if the ambulance goes out on a call, we usually have 1 or 2 people show up to the station, because when our ambulance goes out, we're the only ambulance available in the area until there's a covering unit come in. So the main idea is if we have 1 or 2 people still show up, if we need additional help, they can respond to the scene, or they can respond to another call, which has happened a couple times now, to act in the capacity of a first responder until the ambulance gets there. So yesterday, it was a very quick response because the ambulance initially went out. I heard the radio traffic, so before we got paged out for the fire side, I was already making my way there. And as I was leaving, there was 3 people showing up to the station. And they asked where I was going, and I said, well, they're paging us out too. They're like, oh, they are? I said, yeah. So it was a very quick response, and it worked out very well.
That's what that was all about, staffing. Now, I understand IMH, they're finally getting theirs up and certified. Is that going to just be transport to other hospitals or going out?
Correct. So when speaking with the CEO and the ER staff, that is supposed to be just a transfer unit only.
Okay, transfer, excuse me.
So that would be in the case of somebody gets brought to the hospital, or say they walk into the hospital and that facility is not able to treat them properly. Instead of them having a delay of getting to a higher level of care, that ambulance, they should be able to assemble some people and get that person to a higher level of care in a timely manner.
Or the helicopter, where they don't need the
Correct.
helicopter, they just need to get.
So yeah, yesterday was a lot of luck. So to give you an example, the helicopter after 12 o'clock yesterday afternoon, because the weather coming in, was grounded. So if this accident would have took place in the afternoon, we could have been faced with something different. But that's where that transfer unit would come into play. So.
Any other?
Chief, on another matter altogether.
Yes, sir.
How close are you to getting rid of that old truck?
We're not. We're just hanging on to it right now. I think the longer we hold on to it, it seems like more people want it, so we might be able to run the bids up on it a little.
Run the price.
That's true.
But all seriousness, I was waiting on 1 or 2 things. There were some people that were looking to see if possibly they can make use of it, and that's kind of what we're holding for right now. Other than that, we found out scrap value, we really weren't going to get nothing, so we were not, to get rid of it, we weren't going to gain anything. But if we're able to hold on to it and wait a month or 2 to find out if it's going to be usable for the people that have asked for it, then it'll be a better use in that aspect. So that's where we're at.
The one Sheldon? interest.
So Sheldon, also hopefully maybe working with the county a little bit, to see if we can make that vehicle into a countywide response vehicle for possibly, EMA. Scott, Alderman, if you're able to maybe speak up on that a little bit, where you're at with it or where it was.
There's a possibility that EMA could take advantage of that vehicle, but we would then be responsible for paying for any expenses in regards to replacing the engine and doing the like. But it would definitely benefit the county from multiple sides. I won't go into the laundry list of items, but yeah, there would be a significant benefit to the county and actually right back to the city in itself, because it would be able to be responding here for support functions through EMA back to the city. But as a whole, we could very much benefit from it for the rest of the county. So, you know, one of the biggest things that's unable to take place at a lot of the major incidents is a rehab sector, to where EMA could use that vehicle to set up what would be a location to provide water, food, place to sit, something just to allow the firefighters to have a place, or whomever, whether it be law enforcement. There's also law enforcement needs that could follow up with that. But that's just one of the small things. Communications, mobile communications vehicle, it's already fully equipped. It's got lighting capabilities. It could haul hazardous materials, response equipment that could go anywhere in the county that would be able to provide initial response equipment that a lot of departments don't have. But these things could be stored on it, and it would definitely be a benefit. But again, I know the city couldn't afford to put the engine or anything in it, and I'm doing some work on my own to see if I can get an engine donated and the labor to put a new engine in it. But,
So that, so I apologize. So
No,
that,
go ahead.
that
No,
was a
sorry.
little bit of a, why we're holding on to it a little bit, to see if there's a possibility that if that does take place, then realistically, that is a resource that we would have readily available to us. So that's kind of, we're trying to make better use of the vehicle.
instead of it just going to scrap, I looked at that and said, hey, you know, I'll at least do the due diligence. I've passed it through the county board. The county board has approved the process. Nothing has been approved for the change of hands or anything like that. The process, they approved the process. And so I'm still looking into different things, but that is a possibility going forward.
Is there something that you would like for me to do with it?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm just asking.
Okay.
Not right now.
Yeah, that's kind of been the hold. That's why I haven't really said a whole lot, because we're kind of in just a holding pattern. There's nothing to really announce or to change direction.
I've told Chief that if something comes up, you know, I would appreciate at least a heads up, but I'm not gonna stop him from doing anything going forward. But
Yeah.
to me, if it's just okay to sit underneath the smiley face water tower in a fenced-in area, you know, let it sit. I mean, I'm really hoping that I end up with some donations, and the donations in time, because I don't have anywhere near the budget to pay for what would be an engine and the replacement, so. But the vehicle would without question. I also have permission to store it inside. So, I mean, it would be located as a diesel vehicle. It would be located in the heated maintenance bay. Actually, that's where my vehicle is supposed to park, but I leave it outside. So the maintenance department can use that space, but Chris Drake is already aware that if that vehicle becomes part of the county's rolling stock, then it will be stored inside. So.
I guess I should ask, is that okay?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Any other questions?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. No NIDA, so Chief Douglas, police report.
Evening. It's Law Enforcement Memorial
It
Day.
matches the vehicle outside.
Yes, sir. Calls for April 357, so approximately 30 more calls than last month. Schools and training, Officer Corver and Officer Hamlin attended Crisis Intervention Training, CIT, which is a mandated class through I don't know, through the state or through the federal government now. I think it was a 40-hour class that they attended down in Bloomington last week. Officer Douglas is down in Bloomington this week, attending a 3-day interview and interrogation course. And Forbes attended this past month a 2-day course in drug identification. We had 1 or 2 officers that was kind enough to work over at the kite event last weekend. We completed weapons qualifications with the pistols and the assault rifles. Officer Juarez is currently attending academy. I talked to him this evening. He's having a blast. Car 4 is restriped. I set it out front where everybody can see it. We also was asked from the high school to assist in their high school shadowing program. So we've had 2 today, and we'll have 2 on Thursday. 2 high school students that's shadowing a couple of our officers. And we too, with the auxiliary, assisted with the Little League Parade here earlier this month. And that's all I have.
Car looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that looks great. I do. I think it's really neat.
So it kind of gives us that old styly
Yes, it does.
with that flat black.
Goes back
so.
to,
Bet
So
you could
what's-
take the light bar off,
goes
put a
back
gumball
to
on top.
75.
I know.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool. We
So
just got to be
when-
careful because they told us that we can't take it through a regular car wash with the flappers and stuff like that. So it's got to be touchless or hand washed. So the officer that's assigned to it will be having to hand wash that car then. So.
Take it over to the jail, let a trustee do it.
Yeah, we'll do it ourselves. So, so yeah.
So just a question, like
Yes.
if a high schooler, they graduate, can they directly apply for police or like they
You have to be
go
21
through?
years old.
21.
Ah, okay.
21. So,
I see.
so yeah. So
Was there a college degree requirement at all through
No.
law enforcement?
no. We used to, years and years ago, we had it where you had to have it's always been a high school or GED. Then we did have, years ago, we had a 4-year college degree or a 2-year associate's with
Gave
law.
you points.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
remember.
and then we
Okay.
did away with that. Now we're just back to.
But we do
and-
have that for chief, right? That or military for
Correct.
those 2 degrees.
Correct.
right?
But no, just for a regular entry position, you just got to have a high school degree or GED equivalency. So, and the age of 21. So,
Yeah. So you gotta wait 3 years after they graduate from high school, right?
it gives them time to think about it. Yeah, really. And mature. So,
And not get in any trouble.
correct.
There you go.
Even though the state of Illinois is lowering their standards, so that's not actually true either. So, so
It's hard to get applicants anyway,
Correct.
so it's, they may have to loosen the strings a little bit, unfortunately.
any other questions for Chief Douglas? No? Any other questions in general? Nope, okay. Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one for the evening, we're starting at 7:05. Code enforcement. Call the meeting to order. And Kathy, you want to do roll call for us?
Miller,
Here.
Cahoe,
Here.
Delar,
Here.
Marcia,
Here.
Mensch,
Here.
Rolfs,
Here.
Bergery,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, public comment. Not seeing any. We'll move on to Eric Brandt.
Thank you, Don.
You want to start with your card?
You know, Don, you should have took it when I handed it to you because I left it laying in the office on my
Oh.
desk. I'll break it next
Received a
month.
thank you
We
card.
had a nice thank you card for code enforcement, congratulating us on the good work that we do. Some folks over on Walnut Street had let their grass grow too long, and they called up and asked for a period of reprieve, you know, till the next weekend. Said no problem. They ended up mowing it, raked it, probably mowed it again, and it looked beautiful Monday morning. They came in with a dozen cupcakes and nice thank you card. And just appreciated the hard work that code enforcement does for the city of Watsika and how important we actually are.
Good.
So, that's basically it. I was gonna have Don read it, but then I said, no, I'll read it, and then I left it laying on my desk.
I don't know. Communication problems.
Moving on, IDNR flood mitigation. Again, not much to report. I had mentioned it last month that IDNR is transferring 20 more properties to the city with the deed restrictions. That has happened. The deeds are over at the county recorder's office now. So that's been pretty much finished. Other than that, nothing to report.
Are we waiting for money or?
Yes, that was the next thing I was gonna
Oh.
mention. Yes, there's still over $200,000 outstanding and we're waiting on, so, I'll check on that. That's getting to be over 60 days now, so.
Can I jump in just a little bit? So, we got contact from First Trust. I think it's a little over 5% for our operating line of credit. We'll bring that up in finance coming up where we'll have to approve that operating line of credit to be able to continue the program. That's all I got.
Thanks, John. Ordinance citations, 21 warnings, 3 citations. I usually blow past this, but I'll talk about it a little bit tonight. So 21 warnings obviously is for mowing. It's the vast majority. It's that time of year. But I want to talk about 128 East Ash. That's a property maintenance issue with the structure of the house. They had done some roof work probably 2 to 3 years ago, and there's been no progress since, so I'm trying to get some work done on that property. They also have a little trouble mowing now and then. 400 North Jefferson, this is a commercial building. Again, property maintenance issue, somewhat dilapidated. Some roof work had been done last fall, and nothing has happened since, so I've been working on that one as well. 617 South 5th. So this has been ongoing for several years. Junk vehicles, trash and debris in the yard, mowing most recently, folks living there with no water service. So the owner had been coming to municipal court, and Brian had give her some another month, to get the water turned back on. The owner did not show. My mailing came back returned. So I got upset, and I went down there and I condemned both structures. So that kind of got things going a little bit. The renter in the back structure came in, and they said they would pay the water bill. I said, that's fine. I want to get inside to inspect the property. She came in, paid the water bill. She allowed me in to inspect the property. There was no working smoke alarms initially, and I told her up front they would all have to be working. They went out and bought them. They were all working. I walked through the place. There was nothing else to tag them on, so they're allowed to live there. They think they're going to be evicted by the end of the month, but they asked to continue living there. We turned the water on, and they brought it up to code. So the front structure still remains condemned. It's a mess. The wiring's been chopped out of it. There are plumbing problems, garbage and debris throughout the house. It's a real mess. Moving on to 423 North 2nd. This is kind of the same as 16 South 5th. There's been ongoing problems, junk vehicles, garbage and debris in the yard. About a week ago, the garbage and debris started growing larger. There's a big garbage pile in the backyard, and the neighbor was concerned that they may light it on fire, which that's exactly what they did. They lit it on fire. Ken and his crew was down there. PD was over there, wrote a ticket, and again, no water service. They've been down here to municipal court several times. They're trying to evict the tenants, and it's an ongoing issue down there, but we're all continue to work on that.
At this point, is it all verbal, or
As far as
has the homeowner been given any citations, or is it just?
yes, he's been down here several times to municipal court.
Okay.
And his thing is he's evicting. Originally, the first time he came in, he said he had a year's lease. Once the year's lease was up, he would get the folks out. Well, the year's lease was up, and the folks obviously didn't move out, so now he has to proceed to formal eviction. Hopefully that's gonna happen.
Is he on a time limit now, or is there no time limit for him to do
So
that?
he's gotta show up the end of this month, May the 30th. It's
Okay.
hearing officer's hands.
Okay.
That's the same address the other night where the reporter shots fired?
That I can't answer.
It was in the general area, yes. And when they were down there looking for that, that's when they found the fire.
That's when they found the fire.
And they were issued the site.
This is the same house where the pickup trucks were torched and cut up out in the middle of the street last year.
The fire is concerned because it's pretty near the neighbor's garage, and they said the flames was as high as the garage or higher.
There's one more that I have a little question about. It's the lamplighter building uptown. He did considerable work on it 3 years ago. Have you heard any more on that?
Not a word. I can contact the owner.
Okay, I mean, they did a lot of work, looks real nice. I was just hoping that they would continue.
Yeah, he could do the alley side.
Yes.
So Eric, what's the next step down there on North Second?
So he'll be down here at municipal court on May the 30th.
This attorney's not dropping any fines or nothing, is he?
He's given an opportunity to get the folks out.
Well,
If there's no time limit on this, it's gonna continue on. That's why I asked if there is or not.
So he's been continued 2 months? 2 to 3 months to bring it into compliance, which is basically he's got to get them folks out.
I know there's lots of complaints coming from down in there, and there's gonna be an issue there before long.
But the landlord's doing his due diligence in trying to get the eviction process moving and going. And
Are we assuming that? Do we have any record of him
Is
doing it?
Crime Free helping with
I'm
that?
asking.
Oh. I'm just saying, do we have it?
Well,
He's
let's,
saying he's doing it, but is he doing it?
let's hear, is Crime Free rental, is that coming into play and helping with that?
So yeah, we're notifying
So
the
we-
landlord.
Billy and I went
That
down there
there's
this
been a
morning to try to
crime
make
committed
contact
on the
with
property.
with the landlord. He was at work. He doesn't get off work till 3 or 3:30 today. So I had the other officers go down there by his house. They went down there earlier and he still wasn't home. So I personally and Billy went down there today to talk to him about it, to put a little pressure on him to get it going.
So
He wasn't
possibly
there.
can make contact even later tonight.
Right. I just didn't feel like it was necessary to go to his place of employment and get him there. I was trying to catch him on his lunch break, but I didn't catch him at his lunch break. So, but Billy and I did go down there today, and we met with Eric. I met with Eric afterwards to share that information with him and told him that we were hands-on trying to get it done today. So,
I guess we
because it was
don't
brought to
know.
my
If you
attention.
need assistance, let me know.
Yeah. So if you guys don't mind, I'll come to his work and get him at work. I don't care. So,
10
yeah.
o'clock.
So.
I guess we don't know if he's actually went to the county to file the paperwork for eviction or not.
And I wouldn't have that information either.
He can say he is, but we
Um,
don't know he is or not.
I guess we would know the 30th when he comes back to the municipal court.
That's something
That's where
that-
it was left last month, was he was gonna go to the county and, you know, he talked like he had started the eviction process, whether he did or not.
He should have some paperwork to present to the judge, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he should this month for sure.
At least we know if he's doing something or just talking.
I guess I'm requesting you to get proof when you can from him that he's actually running stuff through county. To make sure he's actually doing it,
Okay.
please.
In regards to the shots fired, I know that I talked to some of my officers, and I don't know if Chief Byer was actually down there, but I was told that night and the next day that there was remnants of like cans, like aerosol cans and so forth like that, which may have been hypothetically, which would have possibly, I didn't hear it obviously, so I'm not for sure if somebody could have confused it, but that could have been what they heard, that people would have heard possibly going off. That's just what I was told. I
Yeah,
wasn't
and
down
that-
there to look at it.
That's true. But
So,
the lady that
I
called
believe
it-
that to be the case also, because the neighbor found cans in his yard that had
The
blown
lady
over.
called it in, was in the middle of the night, and it spooked her, and
right.
I don't blame her a bit.
Right, and she spoke to me on Monday about it, and I told her that I would follow up on it, and that's what I followed up on, and that's what I was told, and I found out, so,
Do we know exactly how many people are living in there?
no. Every day, Don, I could go by, and there's different people standing outside. The people who originally, what I was told was there, are gone. So I know I went by there today, and I would say there was probably at least 3 to 4 people, different people standing outside in and out of that house throughout the day. And I don't think any of them have any permanent residences, if you can read between the lines.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know there's a lot of vehicles around, coming and going, and,
I see a lot of bicycles,
yeah.
so.
Even, I've noticed it's, the issue that I run into is the people that I'm seeing there are the same people that we had at the East Oak.
Correct. So as we're being successful with closing and getting rid of some of these other properties, they're going to different places and they're congregating
Squatting.
there. And then we're removing them from those places to other places. So Chief's right. I mean, a lot of the same people that's hanging around North Second Street are the ones that were at 306 West Oak Street and 201 or 209 North Second Street 2 years ago. It's the same group of people. I'm not gonna say transients, but all congregating at different places as a flop house. Let's just be real about it. So,
And plus
Were they,
that's,
sorry, go ahead, sorry.
well, I was just saying that's next to somebody's livelihood too.
I know.
We
So
definitely wanna,
they're taking advantage of what would be the squatters?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a definition on the squatters? Because it sounds like these people have moved from one location
Right.
and in a very short period of time are occupying a second location. I thought you had to be, in order to be considered a squatter, in a certain location for a set period of time. I don't think they've been, from what I'm remembering, have they been in that location long enough to be considered a squatter?
We don't know because we don't know who's been in there and
So
who
what would
hasn't.
you call them then?
What would you call 'em?
trespassers.
So
Huh?
that's one of the things that
What would you call them then?
Trespassers.
That's what Bill and I were going to talk to offer the landlord today, was to go down there and with him down there to see who's in there.
Sure.
And then we could remove them if it was necessary.
Well, I was gonna say, because if they're not,
So-
if they haven't established a residence for whatever the defined period of time,
It's like 30
to
days.
qualify them as squatters, they're trespassers and can be arrested for such. I don't know how, and who knows, they could have changed the wording on that
Yeah, 'cause
in
I don't
Springfield.
even know what squatters' rights, I mean,
But you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
right.
I
I
know
don't
that
know
in order to
exactly.
be qualified as a squatter, you had to have maintained inside that residence for a certain period of time. And if they just left,
But you also have to have the landlord that wants to
that
be in
wants to
complaint.
follow through. No,
Right.
understood,
So,
understood,
if
so.
That's why I
my-
personally went down there
Okay.
to make contact with them.
Good
Now,
deal.
there's no running
that-
water and stuff there. That should have some bearing on it.
If there's no running
That goes
water in
back
the
to
building,
Eric.
if there's no running water, you said you condemned the building, correct? How can they
Absolutely,
occupy and
that
condemn the
would be
building
next
without
step.
being
I
arrested
gave
for
'em a 10-day
trespassing?
notice to get the water turned back on. It's the owner's responsibility to turn the water on.
'cause we've had that done to, the place next to the coffee shop, right?
So that's something we had talked about, Eric and I had talked about
Sure.
earlier today. At the last resort, we could exercise that right to condemn it with no water.
There you go.
So
There's other
Life
values.
safety.
I know you guys are doing
Right,
it.
we're already
You got
working on it.
Got it. Just thinking out loud, though. No, I appreciate what you're doing.
So
I don't know, Chief, if he made contact with you or not, but the house north of the two-story north of the fire station, that was broken into also.
he called me. He said that he had gotten a call from a neighbor that, and he told me also that he had asked the caller that why they didn't call us, but Tanner had also told me that he was going down to secure it. We believe it was one of our local people that loves to try to take stock on people's property and take claim to it. So he did call me and I did talk to him the other day about it. Yes.
So to continue on or to finish, whatever. So if that was my point a while ago, so we can either fine the landlord X amount of dollars, or he needs to consider his people in there trespassers.
The longer he waits and delays,
Right.
the harder it's going to be, though.
Yeah,
And
it
that's why, again,
If you
We
can find
discussed
out
it
what's
this morning,
what's
we were
called
gonna-
a squatter
right,
instead of a trespasser, then they should be considered trespassers.
as long as the landlord calls us and asks us to go down there with them.
And if we find him, then the landlord would be more motivated, won't he?
Exactly.
There you
That's what I'm
go.
saying. It's a work in progress. That's the angle that we're going
That's what
about.
my intent, that's why
Right.
I'm saying,
Right.
that's why I'm verbal about this, because verbal isn't working.
So yeah, I wanted to bring these up because that's the things we're working on. Any more questions on the 4 properties we just talked about? Then we'll move on to 440 East Oak. That was the fire. It's finally been demolished. The demolition is complete. The grass was getting tall on the city easement. The owner doesn't have an address. I have no place to send the demolition or the grass mowing notice to. So Public Works asked about it today, and they're going to go ahead and mow the grass down there.
Help me out with berms. You know, when I was growing up, we just mowed the city's berm out front. Is there a standard norm? Is there a, that the owner is responsible?
Thank you for asking that question, Mayor.
Oh, was that a, that's my question, sir.
I grew up the same way you did. I mean, it's the city berm out there, it's in front of your house, you take care of it. It's part of your yard, you're using it, you're enjoying it.
It's one of
Mow
those unwritten
Mow it.
ordinances. It's a courtesy.
I will say that's the best that lot's looked in years.
It was a long road. But we're there. So then we'll move on to the next one, 520 North Second. So it's not officially the city's, but the city did win the judicial sale. Nobody bid on the property, so it will be officially the city's at some point in time. The attorneys did say that we can proceed with the demolition. I called up the demolition contractor and asked him about a timeline, and he said today that he would be there after Memorial Day. I'm sorry, but that's his timeline. He does have 30 days to get it done, and he's well aware of that. So.
But that approval just happened yesterday, correct?
Correct, yes.
That's why I would let the public know we didn't do it because of that. We don't like to have something like that just sitting around, but we had to legally get everything in order before we start tearing into it. And that just happened yesterday.
Because it will be the city's property, and the attorneys did not want any work being done before we got the actual property. So it would be classified as an improvement, which that is for sure what that demolition is gonna be, is a big improvement down there.
There's been issues down there in that garage too, hasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Those garages are coming down, right? Everything on that property?
Everything's coming down.
Making sure, I thought for sure, but I know they weren't burned, but.
Take
still need to
everything
come
but
down.
the grass.
No, that's city ordinance, Scott. Whenever there's a demolition, the accessory structures come down as well. Unless they plan on rebuilding. 306 West Oak, there we go, it's related. So, you know, that's the owner had agreed to donate the property. City had asked that they remove the residents first. So they finally did get the residents out of there, and they took it on themselves to have the place boarded up and secured. So no one is in the property. Hopefully we can proceed forward with the donation. The only thing I need now is a signed donation agreement. I've been told it's been signed, but I don't have it in hand yet. As soon as I get that, then I will schedule the closing on that property. It will be the city's, and then we can work on the demolition.
When these buildings are boarded up like that, and one of our regulars decides that they want to try to occupy that structure, do we have the ability to put no trespassing signs by city ordinance or anything on there that allows the city at that point in time to take custody? And if somebody decides to tear one of those boards off, should we be posting signage 360 around those buildings at any point of entry?
I could condemn the thing. I mean,
Well, I mean,
the
regardless,
windows were
even
all
if-
busted out. There, again, no water service.
Understood, but I'm just saying would we benefit from having nice, bright orange, no trespassing signs by order of, under penalty of arrest, and posting them? So then we're not caught back into that trick bag of having to call the owner of the property or whatever. And even if they haven't turned it over to the city, enter in a signed agreement that says, hey, we're gonna allow you guys to post this signage. This gives us, meaning the city, the right to arrest anybody that decides to take it upon themselves to tear one of those boards off
That
and
or
walk
no
into that
trespass
building.
somebody.
And then that is their official trespass warning. So,
If it's posted,
So,
it's
so it's
legal.
not technically city property yet, Scott.
well, but even if they agree, it hasn't taken place, but if they sign an agreement that says, hey, we enter into this agreement with you guys, those signage can be posted on that building, and that gives the authority to the police department to arrest somebody that tears that board off and goes into that structure. So, and it circumvents what is the entire process around what would be the condemnation proceedings, which I know can be sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 5 months. But if nothing else, it might just be a visual deterrent. But I think we need to do something, because I know we've got a handful of these idiots.
Yeah, I
that-
think, well, I mean, and really, Scott, that could go over with businesses that maybe have folks that loiter and stuff like that. I know some states have that.
Yeah. I think we need to look
I
at
think
something
yeah,
like
that'd be
that.
that's something we can look into.
Eric, should
Absolutely.
you condemn it?
Yeah. Yeah, I said I can condemn it. I could have condemned it long
Okay,
ago.
just condemn it.
And like I say, the owners took it upon themselves to secure the property. And then also, you know, we had agreed to have Public Works go down there and clean that up. That was like a $2,500 bill, $2,550, and the owner has reimbursed the city
Nice.
couple 3 months ago in pretty short time for that cleanup down there. So, we're getting some pretty good cooperation out of the owners. There's just been some bad residents in there. 534 East Walnut. That's the garage fire. It was a block garage that had been converted into a rental, and there was a fire there 2 years ago. You know, it was half burnt and empty and looked like heck. And the owners have demolished that. They hired a demolition contractor. It's been demolished and leveled and cleaned up, and it looks wonderful now. And then right along with that is 1008 North Jefferson. That was a little block house on the north side of town, pretty dilapidated. I had got together with the owners, and they threw a coat of paint on it. It didn't help it much. It was still falling apart. So I got after them again, and they agreed that there was not worth salvaging that, so they demolished that also, and that's now been leveled and grass seed also. 904 North Chicago. So this was another fire. The owners demolished the house structure on their own. They wanted to keep the garage because they thought that they would rebuild within a year. They never did rebuild, so then we had to go after them to get the garage demolished.
Was that the?
City ended up demolishing the garage. With attorney's fees and everything, that's like a $15,000 bill. And then in addition to that, they've got a $1,400 water bill. So that was a contract sale. We were dealing with the contract buyer all these years. So the contract seller said, well, the buyer has not been paying on the contract, and they would like to now just donate 904 North Chicago, the lot, to the city. So I said I would bring it in front of you guys.
Absolutely not. No.
No, they still owe it.
No.
They owe it. That guy can deal with it. He didn't want to help. He didn't want to help in any way during this whole procedure. Absolutely not. Do we want that property?
You did say they had a $1,400 water bill outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
How do we allow them to get that far into what they owe us?
Water leaks.
Oh, water leaks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Busted
Do that in a
pipe.
month easy.
Busted pipe.
Yep. Busted pipe running free. You can do that easy in a month.
Well, that makes more sense then. Just seemed very high.
It wasn't taking a lot of showers. So.
That's just my opinion. I don't think we need to
I
take
don't
that
think
property.
You know, they brought it up to me. I said I'd bring it in front of you guys. It's your decision.
It's a guy,
Do we
you
need
and
a,
I went the one day, and he was a real charmer, right?
What are the chances of that lot selling? Just a lot by itself?
It's in a floodplain.
So
It
you'd
is
have to bring
buildable. You could build on it, but, you know, it's in a floodplain. There's
Well, I don't
pl-
want
pl-
to. I don't
there's
want the
plenty
city
of
or anything. I want
other
him to
available
sell it
lots
so
in
we
the
can lien
floodplain,
it.
so, yeah.
Well, lien follows a person, so.
Now, the neighbor next door, would they have any wants for that corner?
Nope. You mean to the east?
To the, well, the house, yeah, the house
No.
would be east.
She does not.
Okay.
so do we need a motion in a second to not do this, or do we need to do anything?
Not to not do
I
something.
don't think
just,
we need to do anything, right?
Not spending anything.
Just not accept
we're just
it.
not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Everybody's in agreement, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Moving on, solar ordinance. So that wasn't in front of the council last month because we need to hold a public hearing first. That needs to be advertised. It's been advertised, so you will have a public hearing, and that's scheduled for this month's council. That's gonna be the first thing on your agenda.
Was that gonna be wind farm also? wasn't it? I thought it was gonna be both.
Solar only.
Okay. This is in regards to the Barker property, how this arose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Attorney had drafted this, since the last, I believe you guys have the latest ordinance now. There's been a couple changes, on the private solar, ground mounts. He changed the height of that from 30 feet to 20 feet. And then also, Ken had requested that the batteries comply with NFPA 855, and that's been inserted in there also.
And then this will give us say-so up to 1.5 miles, just like the wind farm ordinance if we went through with that, right?
I can't answer that question.
Okay, because I think that's what the intent was. This is that property behind Walmart. We need to have this in place to have say-so. This is irregardless of taking land out of production, which we don't want.
So the property behind Walmart will not work according to this proposed ordinance because it has to be a minimum of 40 acres, and that property does not meet those requirements.
Let's face it, that land would be better suited if we could get houses on it. Decades down the road.
I mean, there's still gonna be a special use, so they're always gonna come in front of zoning and you guys anyway, so, yeah. You're always
I think
gonna
as
have
soon
the
as we
final
can,
say
we
on
want wind
what
farm
goes
too,
on there.
if it's not part of this.
Okay, we're talking, that's the full council meeting, May 14th. Is it starting at 6:30? Or is this one before the regular meeting, or?
It's before the regular meeting at 6:30, correct?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
correct.
It'll be a public hearing, yeah.
That'll be the first thing on your agenda.
And probably nobody will show up.
Any more on solar? 400 East Cherry, so, that's been a long ongoing property. Holes in the roof, really dilapidated. So we finally have a demolition order on that, and would you guys like to put that out to bid for demolition?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. And then moving on, finally, to 100 West Walnut, the J.C. Penney building. I believe you all have the Carlisle Group proposal for approximately $20,000 to put the stabilization out to bid and see what actual numbers on trying to stabilize and save the building versus demolition. Comparing the cost proposed, these are all estimates that we've been getting. We had the Berglund estimate for stabilization was 90,000 approximately. Carlisle estimated stabilization at 224,000. We've got a demolition estimate of 118,000. But then in addition to that, you're gonna have the business closure next door is about 8,000 a week.
That'd
So
be
you're-
Traditions and the Elks, correct?
Not the Elks.
Probably
That's-
should be the
That's
Elks.
just next door, the Traditions.
Because that building's taller than the Elks building too, so it should probably be.
And I really wanted to get Lee out here and get an updated estimate. I mean, we've been seeing how these demolitions have been going up in price. So, there has been talk that maybe even would need a structural engineer involved in that demolition just because of the party wall with Traditions Bar.
From the end of their engineering report, I'd gotten hold of the 3 previous contractors. One has responded, Eric has shown him the place, and supposedly he's getting his subcontractors.
I haven't heard back from them
Have not
either,
either.
so, if you agree to Carlisle saying hopefully we can get some bidders on there and get some real numbers out of them.
Because that'll go out to farther, it'll be further outreaching.
On the demolition side, additionally, I had that masonry price. That was anywhere from 50,000 to 150,000, depending on what kind of work you actually wanted it done. The 50,000 price was just patching up the existing bricks that are there, but then you would still have to paint it or do some sort of seal coating after that. And then also that did not include the wall cap on top, which would keep the water out of the exposed wall. He had proposed 13,000 to cap it with concrete. You could probably do that less for with steel or aluminum. Just put a steel or aluminum cap on it. So I just wanted to put these numbers out there. You know, you don't have to do nothing tonight. I know it's on your finance committee meeting for next week, but if you could just look at it hard.
What'd you say
Something
the
needs to be
demo
done.
price
to-
was?
Pardon, Dennis?
What'd you say the demo was?
224.
The last bid we got from him was 118.5 for demo only.
And not to exceed 130, right?
Correct. And that was no repair to the wall. The party wall's gonna have to be addressed by another contractor.
Because there's actually a stairway that goes up to that second floor. There's a door there.
There's a doorway that goes into the upper floor of the upper house that would have to be blocked off.
Yeah.
Bricked in or what have you. That's all I have.
I have one thing. Did you give us this ordinance for vacant property registration? Did we get that from him, or did you bring it in?
Oh, from the other town?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was something that,
Did you bring it in, or did?
that's a council person asked if there was anything that we can do with some of these vacated properties downtown
Yeah.
to make them, the upkeep better.
I didn't know if Eric.
And that's
Eric
basically
was
what all that Joe had.
Eric not aware of that?
Huh?
Was Eric not aware of this
I don't know if
ordinance?
I got you a copy. Did I get you a copy?
I got
Yeah.
a copy of it.
Okay. I don't know if you looked through that at all or not. Any comments about it?
It's, you know, it's gonna be tough to get everyone to register for sure.
Okay. Just wonder what your comments were.
Well, and then the other thing we probably need to tackle next month or two would be your sign ordinance again.
You wanna look at that again?
Well, I think we better. You know, we've got some old signs that are still up, and, you know, I'd like to address things where the one sign's on the
Let me see that.
This,
Mary's, what, Mary's Emporium? Those have been up there, and I don't think
So,
they're
so
lit
you know,
anymore.
I talked to the owner today.
Mhm.
Silo Pub, they took their signs down that are on the DMV sign. I don't know if anyone noticed that. I've been.
They're
trying
looking
to-
at possibly doing a
I've been trying to
mural.
get them down. They're gonna put them on the backside, on the alley side. All their people that are renting their signs are fine with that because that alley is so busy back there.
Yeah.
They've got a plan for a mural to put on that wall towards the DMV parking lot, and if they get it done, that would be a nice improvement. So then talking with them, you know, they said repeatedly, what about Mary's? So I went back over to Mary's Emporium today, brought them another facade grant application and talked to them, and they're still agreeable to doing something, they just haven't got around to it yet. Speaking about facade grants, you may have noticed, the old,
Charms.
I don't know, the Charms building, you know, that's been
I like Sharp.
improved, that's been improved substantially. And then, the Capriel's across the street is about to begin work also, and they have done some window work up there, but, real nice improvements downtown. Nice improvements downtown.
and the empty lot uptown has also been started. Next to here, next to
Yeah, the
And
Pellegrini's.
and
A lot of it-
Pellegrini's is another one. I mean, he didn't spend a lot of money. It's mostly just paint, you know, that he did, and, you know, what an improvement that is, so.
I will make a comment about that. Most of that stuff up there is donated in that lot, so it's looking better already, I think.
Any more questions?
Nothing more for Eric? Okay, we'll move on to Bill.
All right, good evening. One crime-free rental inspection last month. Sent out one owner notification. 4 tow notifications sent out. 9 vehicles removed are now in compliance. We towed 1 vehicle to the impound and 1 junking certificate received from the Secretary of State. On this warnings here, a lot of it was like Eric's, a lot of it's grass. There's some other things, but most of the warnings this month were for grass violations. There's a few other that didn't make the list, addresses. North Jefferson being one of them. I've been in contact with that guy. It's supposed to be resolved before the end of the week. So, just in case anybody had seen it.
What about the lot next to Rico's Tacos?
Rico's Tacos.
Between the old Vips and Rico's, or?
You talking about mowing
Between the
there, or
Mason
what?
Mowing.
Hall and,
Yeah, we're working on the mowing every day, trying to get people to mow their stuff.
Are all of your warnings all verbal?
It depends. All of my go out usually in a letter, except for grass. Grass
All
is
the grass
usually-
are all mostly verbal?
Well, usually it's face to face, or a phone call.
Okay. Do most of those get resolved?
Yes, usually. I haven't had any go over. Usually we give them 10 days, but they're resolved within a week.
I was talking with Eric the other day. He tells me the old ERH building on K Street has been sold,
Yeah.
and has been any contact made on that?
I mailed them a notice, 10-day notice.
So you got, okay.
If you would, check the lot next to Rico's Tacos. I'm not sure who owns that.
Yeah, I'll find out who owns it, and then we'll
Okay.
take care of
Sure,
it.
that's Bill Dirks.
No.
I don't think
Doesn't own
so.
that?
No,
No,
he
I don't
doesn't.
think so.
He owns the old
He doesn't own that
Masonic
grass
Lodge
there as
building.
well? Oh,
No.
okay. When I worked for Peoples and we put our help wanted sign up, we had to go ask Bill. So how that happened, I couldn't tell you.
He gave you permission, didn't he?
He gave us permission to sign it up, so.
Any other questions?
is that the end of yours?
That's it.
Okay, I need an executive session about litigation. This is gonna be very short and sweet, so if I could get a motion in a second, please.
Do we want to adjourn this first?
I think we gotta do it during this.
Gotta do it during.
Okay.
Okay, so move.
Second.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask Billy and Eric to stay. Good. This is gonna be short and sweet. Well, depending on questions.